Today we are looking at 10 cool tips and tricks for using the YouTube app on your mobile phone. And while some of you may already know a few of these, I'm confident that there's something new in this little lot for everyone. What's more, even though I'll be demonstrating everything on an iPhone, I'm sure everything works just as well on Android. As always, time tags are below to skip ahead, so let's get started. And first up is sharing videos to play back at a specific point in time. Now we all know that this has been around on desktop for absolutely ages. Simply pause the video where you want to share it, click on the share link and then tick the box. So when your link is clicked, playback will start from where you paused the video. You'll notice that by ticking the box, all you're actually doing is adding a little bit of code to the end of the URL. In this case, it's $T equals 82, where 82 represents the number of seconds into the video. Now, for some reason, YouTube refuses to put this cool little feature in their mobile app, but you can just as easily do it manually when sending your link. Simply pause the video where you want to create your link. Make a note of the time where you've paused it, press the share icon and share it as a text message. At the end of the link, add the code $T equals and the time in seconds. When your friends click on the link, it will open in their YouTube app and it'll take them to the exact point in the video. One caveat to this is that I could only get it working when sharing the link as a text message. If you share your video using WhatsApp or Signal, it adds a slightly different URL and then adding the code didn't seem to work. But let me know in the comments section if you managed to figure it out. Okay, on to our next tip, and if you find that your YouTube app always seems to start playing videos at a really low resolution, you can force the app to play all videos at higher quality by clicking on your profile icon in the top right corner of the screen, choosing Settings, followed by Video Quality Preferences. Here you can set video playback to be high quality both on Wi-Fi and cellular data. If you'd prefer to do this only for specific videos, you can get to the same setting by clicking on the ellipsis icon in the corner of the video and choosing quality. If you like the old way of being able to choose a specific resolution to play back the video, you can simply click on advanced and then you can choose which resolution you wish to use. If you hear a music track on YouTube that you like and fancy yourself as a bit of a creator, you now have the option of creating YouTube Shorts directly from the music video you're listening to. Simply click on the Shorts button from the menu. The audio of the video will be captured and will play in the background whilst you make your video. You can overlay filters, text and all that fun stuff, and when you're done, simply upload it to your channel. Next up we have gestures, and we all know that you can watch videos in landscape mode simply by rotating your phone. But if you're like me and frequently enable rotation lock, you can still switch to landscape mode without the need of turning off rotation lock simply by swiping up on the screen. If you want to remove the black bars at the side of your video, you can pinch outwards to zoom in and completely fill the screen. And to get back to portrait mode, simply swipe down on the video, and of course if you swipe down again it will minimize the video to the bottom of the screen so that you can navigate around whilst it's still playing. Have you been using the double tap feature to skip forwards and backwards through a video? By default, YouTube sets this time to 10 seconds for a double tap, which can then increase by tapping 3 or 4 times on the screen. If you prefer to start the skip feature at 5 seconds rather than 10, you can change this default setting by clicking on your profile icon, going into Settings and choosing General. There, halfway down the screen, is the setting to skip forwards and backwards. So now when you double tap, it'll skip 5 seconds, 3 taps for 10 seconds, and you can keep on going from there. While we're on the subject of skipping forwards and backwards through videos, many YouTubers like me often add time tags to their video description, which YouTube now converts into chapters. To access these chapters, pause your video and click on the current chapter displayed on screen. This will bring up a list of all the chapters, and you can use these to easily skip through a video to the point that you're interested in. If you watch a lot of YouTube and it's keeping you up past your bedtime, there are two settings you might find useful. Again, start by clicking on the profile icon, click on time watched, which should probably be renamed to time wasted, and here not only will you see how much time you've spent on YouTube, but you also have two options for setting the time to remind yourself when to take a break and to remind yourself when to go to sleep. You can set break notifications to be anything from minutes to hours and set the period for when you should be sleeping. If you stay up watching videos past your bedtime, you'll receive a notification which you can choose to ignore or simply hit snooze if you want to continue watching for a few more minutes. As you know, the first thing you see when you open your YouTube app is a heap of videos that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If YouTube has this completely wrong, you can tell it that you're not interested in these videos by clicking on the ellipsis icon next to each one. Here you have the option to either stop YouTube from displaying videos from a channel altogether, or you can simply say you're not interested. The more you do this, the better YouTube gets at recommending videos you'd like to watch, so it's well worth doing this when you can remember to do so. If you have kids and you often like to keep them quiet by watching YouTube on your phone, you might want to consider turning on restricted mode by going into settings and clicking on general. Restricted mode will filter out content and block access to comments that YouTube deems might be inappropriate. Just note that YouTube does say it's not always 100% accurate, so you might not want to rely on this setting. Finally, you probably already know that going into incognito mode will stop YouTube from recording your watch history. However, if you want to disable this permanently, then click on your profile icon and choose your data in YouTube. This will take you to your Google account settings where you can scroll down to get your YouTube watch history. Click on the arrow and toggle the option to pause watch history altogether. You also get the option to delete your history and choose always to delete absolutely everything. So that is 10 tips for using your YouTube app. If you missed my tips for making your Signal app more secure, then you might be interested in watching this. So we all know that Signal is one of the most secure, if not the most secure app for messaging and making calls. However, if you want to take your Signal game to the next level and be super stealthy about the messages you send and the calls you make, then here are 10 features I recommend taking advantage of. First up is to send all your images and videos as view once. I mean, most people probably don't need to keep a copy of the photos and videos you send them on their phones anyway, so why give them this option? To send a photo or video as view once in Signal, click on the little infinity icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen after you've taken your picture or added it from your library. The icon will change to a number 1 and your recipient will be able to view your photo or video once, after which it's gone forever. Next up, Signal gives you the option of disabling read receipts and typing indicators. So the people you are messaging can't see when you're typing and they don't know if you've read their messages. To keep them guessing, go to Settings, click on your profile icon and then select Privacy and disable both read receipts and typing indicators. Now when you receive a message, the person will only know it's been received but not read, and when you send a message, they don't see any indication that you're typing. If you're aiming to be super stealthy, you definitely don't want people around you seeing who has messaged you and having a sneak preview of the message. Separate from iOS notifications, you can customize what is displayed on the lock screen by again going into Settings, choosing Notifications, and set Notification Content to show no name or content. Now you'll just be notified that you've received a Signal message and nothing else. You can take this one step further by also hiding the Signal screen preview that gets displayed when switching between apps. To disable this preview, go into Settings, followed by Privacy, and enable the option Hide Screen whilst in App Switcher. Now when you switch between apps, you'll see just a blue screen and the Signal logo. So you've guaranteed that no one else around you can see your notifications, but you can still recognize who has messaged you by setting a different notification tone for each of your different Signal contacts. Click on the person's name in the chat session, choose Sound and Notifications, and change the message sound to a different tone. So now when you receive a message from that person, you'll be able to recognize it instantly from the different tone. While we're on the subject of giving away more information than you need to, remember you can always set your messages to disappear from the recipient's phone. To do this, click on their name in the chat session, choose Disappearing Messages, and set an expiry period. The message will simply disappear after the allotted time, regardless of whether the recipient has read it or not. Rather than set this individually, you can enable it for all your chat sessions by going into Settings, clicking on Privacy, and setting the default time for new chats. While you're in the privacy settings, if you scroll down a little bit further to the bottom of the screen and click on Advanced, here you can set calls to be always relayed or routed through Signal's servers. This ensures that the person you are calling has no way of determining the IP address of your phone and thus your location. To guard against anyone ever accessing your account except you, turn on Registration Lock. You can think of this as a form of two-factor authentication when logging into Signal from a new device. With Registration Lock enabled, when you next access Signal on a new mobile or desktop computer, you'll need both your account details and the PIN code that you set when you created your account. So Registration Lock prevents your account from being compromised, but what about the person you are messaging? To guarantee the person you are communicating with is who they say they are, Signal has a feature called Safety Numbers. Each one-to-one chat session is assigned a unique code, a safety number. You can view this number by clicking on the name of the person at the top of your chat session and choosing View Safety Number. If the person you are messaging does the same on their phone, they should see exactly the same number. However, rather than comparing these two numbers manually, you can scan each other's code by tapping on the code. Confirm the verification, and forevermore, Signal can verify that both parties in the conversation are who they say they are. Finally, separate from unlocking your phone, you can also enable a lock on the Signal app itself by going into Settings, clicking on Privacy, and turning on Screen Lock and setting the timeout period. Now each time you close the app or after the timeout period, you'll need to unlock the app either by using your phone's biometrics or a PIN code. So there we have it, tips for both using Signal and YouTube. If you found the video useful, I'd appreciate you giving me a like and hit subscribe for lots more quick tips like this one. Until next time, thank you very much for watching.